Muslims should not use Solomon as an example of the Lord approving of polygamous relationships like your God does in the Quran in chapter 4, verse 3. Why is that? Because just because something is recorded in the Bible does not mean the Lord approves of it. Now, there's a couple reasons we don't need to be using Solomon to say that the Lord approves of this, because the first is that he is a king of Israel, and there are rules for the king of Israel. In Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14 through 20, it says, "When you enter the land the Lord your God is giving you, take possession of it, live in it, and say, I will set a king over me like all the other nations around me. You are to appoint over you the king the Lord your God chooses. Appoint a king from your brothers. You are not to set a foreigner over you, or one who is not of your people. However, he must not acquire many horses for himself, or send the people back to Egypt to acquire many horses, for the Lord has told you you are never to go back that way again." Notice verse 17. He must not acquire many wives for himself, so that his heart will not turn astray, and he must not acquire very large amounts of silver and gold for himself. When he is seated on his royal throne, he is to write a copy of the instruction for himself on a scroll in the presence of the Levitical priest. It is to remain with him all the days of his life, and he is to read from it, so that he may learn to fear the Lord his God, to observe the words of the instruction, and to do their statutes. Then his heart will not be exalted above his countrymen. He will not turn from this command to the right or to the left, and he and his sons will continue reigning many years in Israel. I'm going to deal with another possible objection, the fact that Solomon was a very rich man, and he was blessed by the Lord, and the Lord provided him with the riches. He did not acquire them for himself. The Lord blessed him with those riches because of his obedience and what he asked for. Whenever the Lord visited him in the dream, he asked for wisdom to judge the people of Israel. And the Lord says, "Since you have not asked for a long life or for riches, I will bless you with both." Now, we're going to look at how the Lord deals with Solomon whenever he gathers all these wives and concubines. This can be found in 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 1 through 14. It says, "King Solomon loved many foreign women in addition to Pharaoh's daughter, the Moabite, Amorite, Edomite, Sidonian, and Hittite women, from the nations about which the Lord had told the Israelites, you must not intermarry with them, and they must not intermarry with you, because they will turn your heart away to follow their gods." To these women Solomon was deeply attracted in love. He had 700 wives, who were princesses, and 300 who were concubines, and they turned his heart away. Did you notice what it said? They turned his heart away from the Lord. Verse 4, "When Solomon was old, his wives turned his heart away to follow other gods. He was not wholeheartedly devoted to the Lord his God, as his father David had been. Solomon followed Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and Malcolm, the abhorrent idol of the Amorites. Solomon did what was evil in the Lord's sight, and unlike his father David, he did not remain loyal to the Lord. At that time, Solomon built in the high place for Chemosh, the aberrant idol of Moab, and Milcom, the aberrant idol of the Amorites, on the hill across from Jerusalem. He did the same for all of his foreign wives who were burning incense and offering sacrifices to their gods. The Lord was angry with Solomon because his heart had turned away from the Lord, the God of Israel, who had appeared to him twice. Did you notice what it said? It said that the Lord was angry with Solomon. So the Lord does not approve of what Solomon did. The Lord does not approve of him taking the foreign wives, in addition to the number of wives that he took. Now let's look at verse 10. It says, "He had commanded him about this so that he would not follow other gods, but Solomon did not do what the Lord had commanded. Then the Lord said to Solomon, since you have done this and did not keep my covenant and my statutes which I commanded you, I will tear the kingdom away from you and give it to your servant. However, I will not do this during your lifetime for the sake of your father David. I will tear it out of your son's hands for the sake of my servant David, for the sake of Jerusalem that I chose, so that the Lord raised up Hadad the Edomite as an enemy against Solomon. He was of the royal family of Edom. So, we have here the Lord telling Solomon that he's very angry with him, and he did not listen, because the foreign wives he married turned his heart away from the Lord, and as a result, the kingdom that was given to Solomon will be tore out of his hands, but not during the time of Solomon's life for David's sake, but it will be torn out of the hands of his son. So here the Lord condemns the marrying of many women for the king, of course, and even for the average Israelite. And he also condemns the marriage of Solomon to these foreign women, because they turned his heart away from the Lord. So we cannot use Solomon as an example of the Lord approving of polygamy, unlike the God of Islam, who approves of polygamy in chapter 4, verse 3 of the Quran, where it says that Muslim men are allowed to have up to 4 wives. So we have an issue here. The issue being that the God of the Quran and the God of the Bible are not the same God.